I'm Cindy Disick from the University of Buffalo. I'm here to talk about the institutional review board process that we had to go through for this project. The first part that we needed to do was to determine the level of review that we needed. There are various levels. If you are not going to write or present any of your findings, in this case our findings would have been the pre and post survey that we did, then you can go for an exemption if it's just for internal use to improve your project or your product. If you're going to write about it or you're going to present, then you can do an expedited review as long as there's no possibility that the human subjects involved in the survey would be harmed in any way. So obviously that was not going to happen, so we chose to go through an expedited review process. Now, because we had more than one campus involved, we had to figure out how that got done. Did every single co-PI have to go through their campus IRB for individual approval, or was there a faster way to do that, a better way to do it? After talking with the UB IRB department, we found out that yes, there was something called an authorization agreement, and the PI of the PI's campus would be the IRB of record, and all the co-PI's campus would sign off authorizing that. So what I did was I contacted the IRBs for all the campuses to ask them if they would be willing to sign this authorization agreement. We did get 3 of the campuses to agree to sign the authorization agreement. 2 of them simply signed the agreement, and one of them signed the agreement but also wanted a copy of our IRB application that we'd submitted to UB. From start to finish, from completing the application to a final approval of the expedited status, it took about 3 weeks. It took about a week to complete the application, get everything together we needed, and about 2 weeks before we found out that we did get approved. There was one co-PI whose IRB department would not sign off on the agreement. Therefore, that person did have to go through their own expedited review application. Their process took a little bit longer. The application itself is pretty standard application, basic information involved, who the participants are, their backgrounds, their campuses, who the pool of participants would be. The only exception would be the multi-site supplemental form that you need to make sure is filled out, which is not very difficult. And you have to have a project narrative. Usually it's about 1-page narrative, what your project is about, any funding that you receive for your project. You also needed copies of your pre and post survey, and there are specific things that have to be on the opening screen of your survey for human subjects. Among those things is the purpose of the survey, the procedures that the participants would take for completing the survey, anonymity and confidentiality, how are you going to assure those, and who to contact about the survey. Those participants involved were also told that the data collected would be disseminated to them in some way after the project was completed. We also needed to include samples of all advertising, including posters, emails, flyers, workshop notices, websites, and any links that we had. The posters were not completed at that time, but we did have the text that we were going to use, and we had to pretty much stick to that once we got approval and use that text on the posters, emails, flyers, and workshop notices. Thank you very much.